Good morning, everyone. This is the Vermont House Committee on Commerce and Economic Development. It is Wednesday, January 22nd, 2026 at 9:02 in the morning. We're here to begin our day with members from the Northeast Kingdom who are here to speak with us this morning about all the good things that are happening in the kingdom. So first off, you have Mayor Rick Ufford Chase from the City of Newport. Rick, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks. It's good to be here. Thank you, Chairman Marcotte. Thank you, committee members. It's great to be with you this morning. I'll be brief. I just want to do kind of a topical outline of the things that I hope you all will be aware of and watching for in terms of what's going on in the northern part of the NEK. Others here today will be able to speak more clearly about what's going on in the southern part of the NEK. We call that divide roughly Sheffield Pass. And so the communities that are in the northern part of the pass generally look toward downtown Newport as their downtown. Folks on the south side look more toward Lyndonville and St. Jay in that area. First thing I want to mention is the VOREC grant that we got 2 years ago. That was a grant that was given to Newport Downtown Development. I happen to be the executive director of that organization. It's how I got into Newport politics. And we did a pretty remarkable thing. We pulled together 10 organizations that had not previously overtly worked together. And together we submitted a grant proposal that was funded to the tune of $200,000 from the state to help build up the outdoor recreation economy in the northern part of the NEK. A year and a half later, we are one group shy of completing all of the work that we promised to do in that proposal. It basically was designed to build capacity in every single one of those organizations. I won't rehearse them all, but it was a remarkable coalition. And because of it, that coalition has endured. There's now a committee that we are just in the process of forming that's looking toward a long-term strategy to build up outdoor recreation economy, the four-season outdoor recreation economy in particular. And because of that, we've just received and are just embarking on a process through the, Recreation Economy for Rural Communities grant through the EPA. They will be sending a team starting sometime in the next couple of months to work with us on developing a long-term strategy that will kind of guide our work on building the outdoor recreation economy in the northern part of the NEK. And for my money, all of that started because of the catalyst that was provided by the VOREC grant. So I just wanted to bring you up to date on that and let you know about it. The rest of what I want to talk about is really focused pretty tightly on Newport. I've been out on what I call a charm offensive, meeting with select boards. I've been to 10 of them, I believe now, around the northern part of the NEK, because my family that lives in Lowell and so many other families across the NEK have always looked toward Newport as their downtown. So I just want to give you kind of the same pitch that I've been given to folks out there. I'm not looking for anything in particular today, except to make you aware that Newport is on a new trajectory. We have a city council that is strong and doing amazing work since last March. We've taken responsibility for a series of blunders that caused a pretty significant financial challenge to our community. I can now say with confidence that we have stabilized the situation financially for Newport. The council is one moment away. I think next week we will be taking action to put forward a new charter that is a ground up new understanding of what our charter is. We've been working with a charter that's over 100 years old. And when I mention our charter, other places in the state, invariably anyone who knows us winces and says, that must be so challenging for you. This charter is designed to create language that is accessible for local residents to understand and for potential lenders across the state and for anyone else looking to come and provide leadership in our community. So although it's not specifically tied to any one part of our long-term development strategy, we see it, our council sees it as a key tool that we're trying to develop to try and help everyone recognize this new moment and to become a part of providing leadership for that moment. And so the reason I mention it to you today is because it's my hope that the voters will approve that charter on March 3rd, and it will come to you, and we'll be looking for quick action to get the charter in place because it's pivotal to so much of what we want to do. We've been working with White and Burke Real Estate to do a feasibility study for the possibility of a tax increment financing district for downtown Newport. We are on the edge of being able to make that determination. I don't yet have the final numbers to make sure that we really can say with confidence we're going to move in that direction. We're very interested in CHIP and what it might do for us. And there may be a way in which we do one and then the other, depending on how the feasibility study comes back. But I just wanted to mention that a lot of the effort that we've put into the financial stabilization is with a view toward this long-term development strategy. And when we think about that long-term development strategy, we're pretty clear that we are not trying to become North Conway, New Hampshire, or Breckenridge, Colorado, or even Stowe, Vermont. We're trying to become what was once kind of the downtown for about 20,000 people who orient toward Newport and the northern NEK. And then finally, I want to mention about that we've been meeting twice a month since August with Commissioner Manoli in BGS and her key staff. The state staff have been remarkably helpful to us, not just in that department, but also in now Commissioner Jepson's Department of Economic Development. Both of those commissioners have been personally highly supportive, and there are a large group of people who are working with us to figure out how we're going to get over the hurdles, because I don't have to tell anyone in this room how hard development work is. And it's not any easier, I guarantee it, in Newport, Vermont. So to that end, I won't talk about it this morning because time is so limited, and I know others will, but I'll just say housing, 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 housing. That's the foundation of everything we're trying to do in the northern part of the NEK. And then finally, I just want to let you know that we're paying attention to the crisis that is occurring across the state for folks who are unsheltered. And so we are, I hope, a week away from opening a warming shelter that will run through the end of April, any temperature, any condition for folks to get off the streets. That's an entirely volunteer effort. We've done it all without state money, state funding. We've raised $65,000. A local organization called Joshua House has taken the lead on providing kind of fiscal underpinnings for this project. And it's an all volunteer effort to get this thing up and running. So we're paying attention to those questions too. We have some long-term thoughts about how we're going to try and respond to this, but I'm not going to take up time this morning. I'll be back to talk more about that in the future. And I thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Rick. Before you go, can you just touch on Wednesday on the waterfront?
Yeah.
What that's done?
Yeah, about 10 years ago, two women in town who had been away to college and early parts of their careers were back in Newport, and they were sitting around, they tell me, drinking wine one night and saying, how come we don't have cool stuff like other places do, like, Providence or Portsmouth? And one of the things they thought of was, sure would be cool if we use this beautiful waterfront to its advantage. They started a project called Wednesdays on the Waterfront, where every Wednesday night in July and the first 2 weeks of August, we have a live band come in with a big stage that we pick up from Catamount Arts, and anywhere between 400 and 1,200 people fill the lawns for a free outdoor concert with dancing and singing and having a ball. And it's become the heart of the community in many, many ways. And actually, that gives me an opportunity to say, if you have not seen it, I highly commend to you a new video that Newport Downtown Development just put out last fall on Newport. It's about a 14-minute video, and it tells a true story about what's incredible, what's before us as a community, and also what the challenges are as a community. It's gotten a huge response from our local community because it so well describes who we are. You can find that on the discovernewportvt.com website. It's right on the homepage.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Peggy? Morning.
Good morning. I apologize if I read a little bit, but I need to stay on point and keep within my time frame. Well, good morning, and thank you for allowing me to testify today. My name is Peggy Clay. I am the Human Resources Manager at Vermont Aerospace in Lyndonville. I'm also a member of the Board of Directors for the Burke Area Chamber of Commerce, and I've been a resident of East Burke since 2018. I've been with Vermont Aerospace for just over a year. But my motivation for this work comes directly from my experience living in this community. Having moved here, I developed a lot of relationships with some younger people. And over time, I watched far too many of them move away, not because they wanted to, but they just didn't see a future here for them locally. And that reality just weighed very heavily on me. So when I had the opportunity to join Vermont Aerospace, I saw it as a way to help change that trajectory. And not just to create jobs, but long-term careers that allow the youth in Vermont to stay in Vermont. One of our biggest challenges today is the number of job vacancies far outweighs the pool of qualified candidates. We actively recruit beyond Vermont, and often it's the Vermont tax structure that makes it difficult to compete. We are on the border with New Hampshire. I have folks that will apply from Littleton and they say, well, with your tax structure, we need an extra $2 per hour. And that's just not a sustainable model for us. It just puts us at a very competitive disadvantage when trying to attract talent. And I say these challenges are exactly why workforce development and education partnerships are so critical. As soon as I started at Vermont Aerospace, I developed a registered apprenticeship program, just so that we could have a clear earn while you learn career pathway. I tried to build relationships with some of the local schools as well, which was more of a challenge than I had anticipated. However, I was able to build a relationship with Linden Institute, and they didn't just agree to collaborate, they invited us to the table. They brought in Vermont Aerospace and some of our fellow area manufacturers in for an advisory board for their advanced manufacturing curriculum. Their willingness to engage employers in program development, it's really been the highlight of my first year with Vermont Aerospace. I understand they are now applying for a VDA grant to help build out their manufacturing space and the maker space. And we're proud to be a full partner in integrating our training and our apprenticeship program and expanding the adult education pathways that will lead directly to skilled employment. And we invest in workforce training, apprenticeships, education partnerships. We're supporting employers. We're retaining residents, strengthening our rural communities, and protecting Vermont's economic competitiveness. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just so you know, at 10 o'clock, Secretary Saunders from the Agency of Education will be joining us to lay out the agency's vision of career technical education. That's the piece of the educational overhaul that's being done. We take on the task of career technical education here in Commerce. We're looking forward to hearing what they have to say.
Thank you for that. I will be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That should you. Okay. There is, that chair there, we can use that.
Good morning. Yes.
Okay, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
My name is Bill Stimson. I'm the general manager of Weidman Electrical Technology here with Asha Marshall, and she's our senior HR business partner. So today we'd like to share a little bit about our business. For those of you who don't know, Weidman Electrical Technology is a global company. We are the world's leading producer of transformer insulation. There's nobody else in the world that does like we do. And our plant has been there since 1969. And currently we're in the middle of a $40 million investment. And we're expanding rapidly, adding more people. The investment does represent a long-term commitment to the region and modernizing the equipment, expanding our production capacity, and also hiring new folks. Over the last 12 to 14 months, we've hired over 100 people. And in that amount of time, we still need more folks. And so this year alone, we're going to hire another 60 folks. So you can see in 2 years' time, 160 people, that'll bring our headcount up to somewhere around 460, 470. So very busy plant. And this doesn't represent a short-term surge. This is not just a 3 to 4 year thing. In the next 3 or 4 years, we're going to add more equipment. We're going to expand our production operation further, and we'll continue to grow our workforce. And that's what it's all about. But the big question here is, the big challenge is it's not that we can't invest and create more jobs. The challenge is, can the infrastructure and the local community in the area support it? That's the big problem. And we're seeing that because a lot of our folks come from many, many distances to work at Weidman every day. So with that said, I'll pass that off to Asha, and she can speak to the housing and
Yeah,
people situation.
I think to echo what many in the room are probably going to speak to today, one of the most significant challenges we have, specifically I know at Weidman, is within that area trying to find skilled labor is we don't have much in the way of affordable housing or available housing. I myself am a perfect example of this in that I came to Weidman in June of 2024 as their HR site leader. And I was unable to find any housing in St. Johnsbury in the local area. There was nothing available. So I ended up in Morristown, and I'm about an hour's drive away from my own opportunity. Now I'm dedicated and committed, but this company is growing rapidly. Again, to echo, Bill's sentiments, is we are hiring for sustainability. This company is in what we call a super cycle. There's no slowing down right now in the business that we're in. So we want to, ramp up our hiring. We want to get some of those larger positions too inside of our organization that are what we call like overhead positions. Those are our salary positions. To get that kind of talent into the area, we're going to need to have, available housing and affordable housing. So the other challenge I would say that we have, with the limited pool is that we really don't want people that are having to travel from like an hour away, because if you think about that, isn't going to be sustainable for them and the affordability. So what could happen is people are coming into our organization to work and then having to leave. So that could create turnover, and that's not what we want to have right in the area. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Weidman was the recipient of a veggie grant.
We were, absolutely. And we
Yes.
thank you for that.
Yes.
I went down and visited this facility
Yes, you did.
last summer, and
Mhm.
it was a great tour.
And we invite you back
Yes.
in May
In May.
of this year. Our grand opening ceremony will be at the end of May.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Hopefully the snow will be gone.
Yeah.
stay this year. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ayla? Morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me here. Thank you for having all of us. NEK Day is a really important opportunity, especially for young professionals in a rural area who don't always have a clear pipeline to connect with state legislators. So it's empowering for me as a young professional to live in a state that holds this space for rural communities, not just today on NEK Day, but all throughout the legislative session. My name is Kayla Ballou. I currently serve as the chair of the Northeast Kingdom Young Professionals Network, which is a project of the Northeast Kingdom Chamber of Commerce. Like all Vermonters, I also wear many hats. I'm also a small business owner, a technical assistance provider, and a board member of the Linden Downtown Revitalization Corporation. So I transferred to Linden Institute my sophomore year of high school from Connecticut. Then, like so many young Vermonters, after graduation, I moved away and came back, and moved away and came back, and moved away and came back. And when I realized that Linden is home to me, I decided to move, more permanently. And my friends who had also moved away would say, "Oh, there's nothing for young people in the kingdom unless you're mountain biking or logging." And I don't do either. So that might have been a little bit confusing to some folks. But around the same time, I heard someone say, by not engaging with your community, it doesn't mean you're not a member of that community. It just means you're an inactive member of that community. So that was just the right message at the right time for me. So enter the Northeast Kingdom Young Professionals Network into my life. The YPN is a resource for young professionals living and working in the Northeast Kingdom. Throughout 2024 and 2025, our primary project was managing the Northeast Kingdom Chamber of the Vermont Welcome Wagon project. So the Welcome Wagon aims to close the talent gap by welcoming in new and returning Vermonters and connecting them with local Vermont hosts to help them figure out the kingdom. 'Cause it's a little funky there sometimes. It's quirky. The Northeast Kingdom's got a great personality. So the goal is to help new Vermonters find their roots and be more connected to their community more quickly. Management of the Northeast Kingdom Welcome Wagon program was largely funded or entirely funded, I believe, by Think Vermont's GROW program. That's the Grant for Relocation Outreach Work. So through that project, in August of 2025, through an initiative called Keys to the Kingdom, we welcomed 21 new potential Vermonters to meet with us and stay with us in Newport, experience the region for a weekend. And as a result, after that event, a young couple moved from their home in Pennsylvania to Derby, Vermont, which was amazing. So still connected to them today. The Welcome Wagon is now our sister organization, and the YPN is looking ahead and asking what I believe is a critical question. What factors are leading people to leave the Northeast Kingdom? Because honestly, from my point of view, I don't fully know the answer yet. And that gap in understanding creates an issue for us when we're trying to create a program to lean on to move forward and manage. When young professionals leave, on our end, we're experiencing a steady erosion of leadership capacity, workforce stability, of course, volunteer boards looking for people, and local businesses' succession plans just aren't necessarily built out. So I believe we need better ways of understanding why young professionals stay, why they leave, and what would make staying not only viable, but desirable to be in the Northeast Kingdom. I think the Northeast Kingdom is ready to grow. So I would like to see the state dedicate some resources to better understanding the needs of the young professionals who are already in the Northeast Kingdom and hoping to find their community and put down the roots there for the long term. Because when young professionals' needs are supported, we don't just remain in place, of course. It means we have the ability to become business owners and community leaders and board members and volunteers and just leaders in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Glad you came back.
Glad to be here. Glad to be in Vermont at all. Yeah.
Burton?
Hello,
Morning.
hi. My name is Burton Hinton. I'm a fifth generation dairy farmer by trade and a lifelong Vermonter from the NEK. Grew up in the town of Westmore and I now reside in East Burke with my business partner where we co-own the East Burke Market. And I am also a member of the Burke Area Chamber of Commerce with these two good-looking young ladies right here. I just came to address the challenges of a small business. Taxes are killing us. The minimum wage hike is a challenge for us. I mean, payroll taxes, but with property taxes going up, and that takes money away from what we're able to put back in the community. We do a lot for the Fenton Chester Arena, the senior meal site, etc. We don't have the money, we can't do it. We miss the Canadians. Probably that's singing the same old song, but it hurt us. And tourism with farms going by the wayside is a big deal. And especially I think in the NEK, it's growing. It needs to continue to grow. We have very weather dependent industry. Case in point, we had some flooding in the area that stung. To hit home, we had enough money set aside for a new generator, so when the power goes out, we can serve our community, but we had to put that into a new parking lot because it washed down the Passumpsic River. We have a beautiful state, and the Northeast Kingdom is the best part of it, in my biased opinion. So anything we can do to attract people to spend some tax dollars, gas tax, they pay rooms and meals, sales tax. If you can do anything you can to help us get them in here, that would help us soften the blow considerably. I don't know, I have no idea if that took me 2 minutes or not.
Well, thank you. We certainly understand the challenges. I own a small store in Newport, so
Great store. I go in there, get a snack now and again myself when I get up that.
Well, thank you all very much. We certainly appreciate everyone coming in today. And we'll see you around the building. As the day goes on, we'll see you at the press conference at noon as well. So thank you all for joining us this morning. It's very happy to have you here. I think John is now to hear from the Vermont Food Bank.
Yeah, this group is definitely the winner in terms of. Any case shows up.
My daughter's swam at Walamega, both the 10-miler and the 25-mile. Well, yeah, and she's training for her successful swim of the year. That exercise, Lake Willoughby. So, yeah, we got to go up there and cheer her on.
It really is the
Tell her
hidden gem
with the kids. It's beautiful.
It's good to meet you.
In a bit, right? John? You're going to say. Close your door? Yes, please. Good morning.
Morning.
Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
Did a great job of clearing the room.
It's my special skill.
Welcome. We're glad to have you this morning and hear more about the food bank.
Thank you.
You don't happen to know anybody by the name of Cabot, do you?
I do happen to know him. Cabot's my son.
Glad to have him as one of our interns.
Yes, and he's very excited about the opportunity here. We talk about it a lot. I start?
Yes, sir.
All right. For the record, my name is John Sales. I'm the CEO at the Vermont Food Bank, and I live here in Montpelier. And I'm here today. I have my notes on here. Just to give you an update on Vermonters Feeding Vermonters, which came before this committee last year. So that was Act 34. And in the materials, there's a handout, which is just a one-pager. It's about our ask and budget adjustment, which I'll get to in a moment. But I just want to thank you for your work on Act 34 and let you know it's working really well. So the legislature ended up appropriating $500,000 to Vermonters Feeding Vermonters in one-time funding. We had requested $2 million. That $500,000 was spent with 17 Vermont farms between July 1st and October 6th. We used up all that money. We're using some philanthropic dollars in the program this year too, and probably about 1.2 million total. Vermonters Feeding Vermonters is about investing both state and philanthropic dollars in our Vermont agricultural systems with our farmers here. All those dollars go to purchases from Vermont farmers and growers. And that food that's purchased is then distributed at no cost to food shelves and through our Veggie Van Go mobile produce distributions all across the state. So the Vermont Food Bank, we are a statewide organization. We have about 300 partners. About 220 of those are food shelves or meal sites. In every district, every one of your districts has a food shelf and your constituents go there. And this is an opportunity for folks to be able to access fresh, very nutrient dense Vermont grown food that they wouldn't otherwise perhaps be able to afford. The way food banking works is, we are really just an economic support for families, right? Family has a budget. If the ends can't meet for that budget, then you have to look for ways to fill it in. And we have this system of food shelves and meal sites, Veggie Van Go's around the state. And it's a way for families to to close the budget gap. You know, if there were other ways for them to do that, then they would probably prefer to shop for food at the grocery store like we all do. There's plenty of food in Vermont, in this country. And really there's plenty of resources. We just haven't been able to put together the political will to really end hunger. We're working on that here, and we'll talk about that perhaps another time. Because I want to get to our guests. So at its peak, the food bank during COVID was purchasing about $2.4 million worth of Vermont goods. And based on a study by the Center for Rural Studies at UVM in 2016, there's about for every dollar spent, the economic multiplier is an additional 60 cents in economic activity. So every dollar we're spending with Vermont farms is multiplying in our economies, and you all know about that well. I'd like our farmer guests to talk about how this supports farm operations and, you know, how it feels to them to have the Vermont Food Bank as a customer. The other thing I wanted to share was, in addition to those large scale purchases that the food bank does, and we're talking, you know, Gaylord size, Gaylord's big boxes, truckloads of food. We also, for our partners or for smaller farms that can't provide those quantities, we give grants to food shelves and meal sites around the state, small amounts like maybe $3,000 to $5,000, and then they can purchase directly from smaller local farms. For instance, a food shelf may purchase half a dozen CSA shares from a local farm, and those get delivered to the food shelf and broken up and distributed to the folks that come in. We also have a program for culturally responsive foods for our neighbors who are from our Somali neighbors, the other African migrants who are in the Burlington area mainly, our Afghan families. We've done a lot of work with the Afghan families moving to Vermont to make sure that we are purchasing from Vermont growers the types of foods that are more familiar to these folks, so that they're eating what's culturally appropriate for them. So those are the kind of the three slots of where this money goes. And before I turn it over, I just will mention we've asked the Appropriations Committee and the House Agriculture Committee, Agriculture, Forestry, and Food Resiliency, has also made a request that in the Budget Adjustment Act, the legislature include the additional $1.5 million that wasn't funded in the fiscal year 26 budget. The food bank does have a plan that we know we can spend those dollars with Vermont growers before the end of this fiscal year on June 30th. With that, I think I'd like to turn it over to Hillary Martin from Diggers Mirth, who I think is on. There she is. So I would just want to say about Diggers Mirth and Chappelle's, both long-standing partners with the food bank, both as farms that we purchase from and also farms that donate to us, because most of the farms we purchase from also donate. So with that, I will be quiet.
Thank you, John. Morning, Hillary.
Good morning. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Amazing. Well, I'm so sorry I can't be there in person. I love coming to the Golden Dome, but thank you for having me here today. I love the opportunity to talk to legislatures about what I do and what I care about so much. Here today in support of the Vermont Food Bank's budget request. And I'm so happy to be here to talk with you about Vermonters feeding Vermonters. My name's Hillary Martin. I'm from Burlington, Vermont, and I'm co-owner of Diggers Mirth Collective Farm. We rent and manage 15 acres in the Intervale, where we've profitably raised organic vegetables since 1992. We are collectively owned, so the farm supports 6 owners and 1 to 3 seasonal employees, and we raise a mix of vegetables that we sell just within Burlington to stores, restaurants. We sell to Sodexo up at UVM. We sell at one farmer's market, and we're fortunate to be part of the Vermonters Feeding Vermonters program. Our work with the food bank or with Vermonters Feeding Vermonters, as John mentioned, we've been donating through our gleaning program for many years, but the work with Vermonters Feeding Vermonters began as a pandemic response that was grant funded. But thanks to the food bank's advocacy and organizing, we're now planning into the 2026 season and really counting on years to come after that. And here's how it works from our end. The food bank contracts us to create weekly shares of vegetables through July, from July through October. So we are paid retail value for these shares, and we're given control of what crops to grow and how and when to distribute the crops through that 12 to 16 week period. And then we wash and pack the shares, organize the crops into shares, and then we deliver them once a week to our partners. And our partners are the Family Room and Feeding Champlain Valley. I'll talk about them a little later. And they distribute them to recipients. So we grow crops that are desired by the recipients of these shares, almost entirely new American families. And what we grow is largely informed by our years of selling to new Americans at the neighborhood farmers market that our farm started back in 1992 in the Old North End. And so since then, we've sold produce to the various waves of people that have settled in Burlington, including people from Vietnam, Bosnia, Iraq, Sudan, Somalia, the Congo, Burundi, Nepal, Afghanistan. And so we really have a sense of what people are looking for, which vegetables bring them the joy and the confidence and the comfort of their cultures from home. Our contract with Vermonters for Feeding Vermonters is really our favorite account. And that's because we love that fresh and healthy food with really a premium quantity and quality is getting directly into the kitchens of the people who need them. Our community partners are really embedded in the community and they know how to get produce to people. It's sometimes a challenge. Obviously, farmers markets are like outside of some people's culture and access. So our partners are able to get it right to people. And our partners are empathetic and flexible and professional. They understand proper handling of the produce and cooling needs, and they distribute it super efficiently. It's been a really profitable and efficient and consistent market for our farm. And we're given trust and control and flexibility. And kindness and caring is at the root of this project, and it really just radiates outward through the whole process. It's such an amazing feeling. And I want to really tip my hat to our community partners. The Family Room, which is one of the parent-child centers, is really intimately linked to families across the city, and they know their needs. People seek them for childcare and language help, access to services, group play, and father support, anything that makes a healthy family. And so the organization really knows what people need. And you're probably familiar with Feeding Champlain Valley, which is the biggest food shelf in the city and distributes food across 4 counties. So we love that we can really focus on the work of growing the vegetables, and then they do that hard work of distributing them. And I know that the food bank's request includes funding not just for the growers, but also to support their essential work. Am I okay on time?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make a note that the pandemic, it's almost like a cliche now to talk about how it's changed everything, but it really changed the landscape of our farms markets. It's really disrupted sort of how and where people shop. And so sales at our retail store accounts have been dipping a little bit. Our restaurant accounts are struggling. Our farmers market sales spiked during COVID with outdoor shopping and the stimulus checks, but we're also seeing those sales dropping, probably because everybody's costs are rising and there are tighter household budgets. But so at the farm in general, we're trying to weather all of these erratic conditions, like through the pandemic, economic strain, and climate change. Not the least climate change, but that's another subject. But Vermonters Feeding Vermonters has been such a steady market and has a consistency that's so crucial for us and our business. So I call Vermonters Feeding Vermonters a win-win-win project because it's giving security to farms like us, and that supports our working lands economy. It provides food security for our neighbors with fresh and healthy local foods that are culturally specific. And I believe by supporting the most poor and vulnerable among us, our whole community is stronger. Obviously, I'm reading this testimony, so I attached a written version of it, but with that, there's some photos of our farm and some examples of the vegetables we're growing and the shares that we're distributing if you're interested in checking that out. And thank you so much for taking the time to learn about our farm and our participation with this program. And I hope you'll consider funding the program.
Thank you, Hillary. Thank you for being here, and we look forward to taking a look at your pictures and learn more about your farm.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bill?
So I'd like to introduce Bob Chappelle from Chappelle's Potatoes in Williamstown. Hillary Kyle says hello. She's here today.
Hey, Bob.
Yes, good morning. So I'm Bob Chappelle. I'm a potato farmer in Williamstown, Vermont. And we have traditionally grown 50 to 60 acres of potatoes, but my wife and I are becoming part of that geriatric segment of our population. And so we're scaling back a little bit. We're down to 25 acres, which is still a lot of potatoes. At our height, we were producing in excess of 1.5 million pounds. So now we're down, somewhere 60, 70,000. No, 100,000. But we've been farming for a little over 50 years. And so I am one of the Vermonters feeding Vermonters. And it's been a pleasure working with Vermont Food Bank. If you don't already know, they're extremely professional operation. You go in to make a delivery, everybody is they're all smiling, which is very suspicious. But they seem to be happy. They're very cordial. If there's some problem, like, I can't get my truck off the loading dock because there was too much freezing rain the night before, I can call, there's a person to call and we can rearrange. As, Hillary mentioned, it's a real pleasure working with Vermont Food Bank. So the real advantage for us as a farmer, and I'm sure it's true for everybody else, Hillary mentioned this notion of forward contracting. It's unheard of in the produce business from my perspective for the last 50 years. We literally put a crop in the ground in the spring, a lot of dollars, and hope for the best, hope for good weather, hope the help shows up, and then hope, which results in a good crop generally, if all those things happen. But then you hope for decent prices. And this is a little bit of the case with dairy farming and other segments of farming. It's sort of, there's a sense of the last farmer standing, like I can weather this storm, and then a couple of people will drop out and everything will get better. Well, that's not exactly the way it works. But I was telling John while we were out there in the hall waiting for the room to clear out a little bit, pessimistic farmer is not a good situation. And in produce, let's say dairy farmers, they're looking down a rough road. They kind of know what's ahead of them. They know what the price of milk is, and they can make decisions, informed decisions. In the produce business, that's not so. We really don't know. For example, this year we had, as you know, a drought, severe drought, worst we've experienced in 50 years. And we ended up with, it was a crop failure. We had 20% of what we would normally get. Instead of 500 bushels a acre, we got 100. And so had to make some tough decisions. We're meeting with Vita and our lenders next week. Hopefully we're going to get back to the starting line, which is always our hope. But my background was not always, I didn't start off as a farmer. I started off as an engineer and with a strong background in math. And then actually taught math for 14 years. And I understand probability. And I got to tell you, I've never bought or even been tempted to buy a lottery ticket in my life. But somehow I've ended up in a profession where I gamble for a living. Because that's literally what's happening. I'm putting money out. I didn't know this up front. I went in with my eyes. I didn't know what I was getting into from that perspective. I'm not sure, but I am very happy farming. I also told John I hope to die with my boots on. I want to keep going. So, Hillary mentioned how important the food bank is and this contracting is to their farm. It's very important to our farm. Right now, it represents, in a good year, it represents roughly a third what our gross income would be. And it's actually better for us to pack in large quantities and make one delivery rather than go up, starting in Barry, go up to the Swanton, to the border, delivering to Hannaford stores twice a week. We love doing business with the Hannaford's, and we always have. I think at one point we were up to 11 stores, and before that we were in with almost 20 stores with Grand Union when they were still in business. But this year, with our crop failure, I didn't even have enough potatoes to fill my contract with the food bank, and which, as Hillary mentioned, is for them, it's their most favorable pricing. And it's been, there's, from our point of view, there's money left on the table, and from their point of view, we didn't get as many potatoes into the market. But that's all we've done. I had to notify the Hannaford's and wholesalers that I deal with, some IGAs up in Burlington. I just didn't have potatoes, and we weren't going to be able to do any business at all this year that we hoped we were going to get back in. So the idea, again, this is something Hillary touched on, the idea of farmers feeding Vermonters, this money goes back into, in our case, our farm, the farm economy, and it's spread throughout the state, throughout the year. you know, we pay our employees and they spend their money in state. And we've always, up until we got involved with Food Bank, the number one product always went into the grain unions or the Hannafors or the into the restaurants through wholesalers. What I used to sell to Food Bank back in the day, and it's gotten to be recently where we donate it, but not directly to Food Bank, but another operation. But the number two market, which is that's misshapen or slightly bruised or maybe a green spot on a potato. They're still totally edible, just a little more peeling involved. And generally, we get half or less the value of what the potato would be if it were number one. So, so until Feeding Vermonters came into existence, all our potatoes to our neighbors and whatnot, a lot of our neighbors live in Williamstown. It's a blue collar town. And a lot of them couldn't afford to shop in the Hannaford, and they would go down to a convenience store, pick up a 50-pound bag of so-called unclassified potatoes. Unclassified meaning they're not number ones. And yeah, they could buy a 50-pound bag for $8 or $9. You know, that was good. But now I feel good, proud that some of our product with our name on the bag is getting into the hands of people that haven't had them before. And so one side of the formula on Farmers Feeding Vermonters, it's a big part of our operation income-wise, but that money gets spread back out through the state. And then the other side is there are people that are for whatever reason, food security is an issue. And I sort of had some firsthand knowledge of that. My wife is kind of putting the hammer down on how much we're going to spend on food. So when the money's short, we tighten our belts, and like everybody, I guess. And but I had an employee. I kept my main employee, but my other employees, for the most part, are part-time. They work either in the packing crew in the winter or in the fall when we're digging. We need extra help on the harvester. And one woman, I've been working with her she's trying to get SNAP benefits, and it's unbelievable hoops they have to go through. This is news to me. Probably you're aware of it. It's pretty stringent. But I think I've said pretty much what I want to say. If anybody has any questions, I'd be glad to go at it. But if you have no questions, I know yesterday I sat in on the Ag Committee meeting just to get a sense of what goes on in these rooms. And yeah, there was a couple farmers there who right away jumped right in. They had a lot of questions, dairy farmers. Yeah. So if anybody has any questions, no questions. Okay.
Time for one question. Any question?
Okay. I must have said it all.
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Please support the food bank's proposal. It's simple.
Thank you, Hillary. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, committee. I appreciate your time.
Yes,
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
I have to go off this link to get onto another. Yeah. Just 5 minutes. 4, 3, 2. So we're not going to take a break. Secretary Saunders will begin. Others. So this is going to be a hearing Education will be joining us and Senate Economic Development will be joining us as well. They'll be joining on Zoom. Everyone will be in here. So there won't be any breaks if anyone needs to go to the bathroom or anything. So just get up and go. And make sure it's not a mass exodus.
Sorry, did you say we're doing it in here?
Yeah.